Hello everybody, it's Josie here. I'm going to be talking about a trilogy of books today. So the trilogy that I'm going to be talking about is by an author called Nicola Griffiths. Nicola is most famous for, I think, two of her sci-fi books. So the first one would be Slow River, that's been published as a sci-fi masterworks, which I have up there. And the other one is Ammonite, and they are really acclaimed sci-fi novels. Now, I have not read Ammonite. It is on my TBR list. Once I am done with Ammonite, I'll do more of a Nicola Griffiths spotlight on all of the books that I've read of hers. But today I'm going to be talking about I guess we should call it a thriller, crime, suspense. So on the first cover, it actually has a novel of suspense, which is probably the best way to describe it. But it's a trilogy of books. I was reading on Nicola's website that she was saying she kind of has a fourth and a fifth book in her, but whether or not that's going to be published will be sort of up to the publishers whether they want to buy it. But at the moment, this is a three-book trilogy, meaning three. So the books I'm talking about is these ones over here, and they are a trilogy of books that focus on a detective called Aud Torvingen. So Aud is a Norwegian. She's originally Norwegian. She now lives in the States, and she used to be in the police force. She now kind of does private work, so she left the police force. She does sort of private security, and she tends to get involved with cases where people are asking her, almost like a private detective type cases. So these books, first of all, I love these books because the protagonist, so Aud, is gay. She's very openly queer. She is a lesbian. She loves the ladies. So that is a really cool selling point for me. And to be fair, there's not that many detective novels with female protagonists as the kind of detectives, and then to have gay female protagonists, which was great, and I love that. And then that kind of got me down a rabbit hole of looking for more of them. And actually, at the end of the video, I will recommend some more kind of in that same vein. But anyway, back to Aud. So these three books, so the first one, what you will notice is they're all very different looking. And again, I was reading on Nicola's website that these are all different publishers, and it kind of annoyed her that they all look different. But the first one is called The Blue Place, which is my favorite cover and also my favorite book. The second one is called Stay. And then the third one, chunker of book, is called Always. Sorry, that's reflecting because it's an ex-library copy. These I bought secondhand online because I couldn't find them new anywhere. So what these stories center about. So the first book, The Blue Place, is she's out running, and she sort of runs into a woman, and the woman, it's a bit of a weird encounter. And when she runs a bit further, she sees that there's a house on fire. And it's kind of a mystery thriller to find out what's happened. The person that's died in this house fire is the woman who she ran into, quite literally's friend. So they kind of team up a little bit and try and figure out what happened. And Aud also falls in love with this woman. So that's kind of the first book. And what I loved about this first book, The Blue Place, is that it has great elements in it so you've got that kind of mystery suspense element of it. You've got that sort of detective novel kind of element in it. And then you've got a great section in the middle where it's really about kind of the love story between these two women. And so you've got all these kind of elements. And also I love the way Nicola Griffiths writes. And also that may not necessarily be for everyone because it's very beautiful. It's quite lyrical. It's a little bit descriptive. She does prose beautifully. And it's a real departure from just the classic, I guess, mystery or crime novel where it's very plain prose and it's really the story and the plot that's driving it along. I would say, obviously there is a plot and there's a mystery going on, but that's not really the main drive of the novels. You really get into Aud's head, and the kind of the blue place is a place in her head that she describes as the blue place that is quite dark, and that sometimes she can go to quite a dark place. And throughout all three novels, you kind of get more of her backstory and more of where she's kind of coming from. And then the second and the third novels, the second novel picks up where this one left off, and then obviously the third one. Now, I will say, if you don't want to know what happens in this one, so if you do want to read Stay, and you don't want this one spoiled, you're going to have to turn the video off now because, or at least skip to the part where I'm no longer holding up stay, because in order to talk about this, I'm going to have to talk about what happened at the end of the Blue Place. So if you don't want to know, mute the video and wait till this comes off the screen, and then you can watch the rest of it if you want the recommendations at the end. But yeah, so spoiler. So at the end of the Blue Place, Aud's, I keep calling her Aud's out, crowd out, that's it, it rhymes with crowd. Aud's love interest dies, and it is incredibly sad. So Stay is, again, there is a sort of a thriller element, but it's really about kind of Aud's internal dialogue, her struggle with the passing of her lover, the woman that she was so in love with, how she's kind of dealing with it. And Stay refers to the fact that at the end of the book, she told Aud to sort of stay in the world. And there is this kind of element running through this entire book of the sadness and getting over this loss and the grief and kind of trying to come back to yourself and trying to live back in the world. It's beautiful. There's also what I love about this one. So first book I gave 5 stars. This I would give 4.5, maybe 4.75 actually in reflection, because actually thinking about it afterwards, I'm loving this book more the more I think about it. There's also an element of there's a child involved in a conspiracy, and she's basically trying to rescue this child from a really horrible person. But it's all about kind of dealing with emotions, dealing with grief, trying to come back and live back in the world. So this one doesn't have the romance element that the first one had at all. So the first one, you obviously had that romance, you had some sex scenes, and you had like a lot of fun going on there. This one is more about that grief and that internal and kind of the story or the crime or the mystery story that goes around that. It's beautiful. I love this. Okay, for those of you that didn't want to be spoiled. So then the third book, what I would say about the third book is, again, you've got a mystery going on in it. You've got a tiny bit of a romance element going on in it. And you also have what runs through this book, which is really interesting, and you're either going to love it or you're going to hate it. You've got chapters, and then you've got chapters that say lesson, and lesson 1, lesson 2. And what it is that Nicola Griffiths is actually a trained martial. She does martial arts, and she taught self-defense to women. And throughout this book, the lesson chapters are the ones where she's actually teaching self-defense classes. And it is fascinating. And if you've ever obviously been interested in self-defense, if you can learn quite a bit on how to defend yourself, what to do in a crisis situation. It's really interesting. It doesn't have anything to do with the main plot of the book, but it is an incredibly interesting departure, and it's, again, something totally different that I haven't seen before in a novel. So that's probably why this novel is so thick as well. Not probably, is why this novel is so thick, because you have that kind of narrative running alongside of it. But I would say it's got nothing to do with the actual real plot of the book necessarily. It's just the fact that it's really interesting, this kind of self-defense and empowerment and how women feel and how to strengthen and empower and defend yourself. Really interesting. And then you've got the other part of the plot, which is about real estate in Seattle. This one's set in Seattle. And you have the kind of that mystery thriller and a bit of romance element. I like the love interest in this kick. So yeah, it's interesting. It's good. I would say this is probably my least favorite. I mean, I would still give this 4.5 stars. So to say least favorite is silly. But I kind of, these two stayed with me more than this one has, but maybe I need more distance from this one because I've had more distance from these two. I don't know. But all in all, I would say this is a fantastic, fantastic trilogy. It is something a little bit different, a bit of a departure in your kind of classic crime thriller, and the way it's written, it's beautifully written. And Aud is a very compelling, interesting, kick-ass female lead who is also queer, which is great. So on that note, I've got a few more books here. So if you're looking for so this is the recommendations portion. So if you're looking for queer female led sort of thriller, mystery, crime type things, I've got a few more. So one that I recently read that I really loved is this one over here. This is Stella Duffy, Beneath the Blonde. I've read a previous Stella Duffy book called Calendar Girls. I liked it. It is, I think Calendar Girls is the first one in this this is also a series, so this is the Saz Martin mystery series. And I haven't read, I've picked these up in charity shops, so I read the first one. I liked it. I didn't love it. I haven't read the second one. This is the third one, and I picked this up only because I like the premise of it. Terrible cover. But I like the premise of it because Beneath the Blonde is actually a band. And she gets hired, and the lead singer, who's a blonde woman, has been getting sort of slightly threatening letters and things, and Saz is hired she's a private detective to kind of investigate and see what's going on. This book is fantastic. I really liked it. So you've got this wonderful, Saz is a great main character. She's also queer. She has a girlfriend. So you've got the storyline of their life kind of running alongside it, and then the investigation, and this kind of, there was a twist at the end that I did not see coming. So representation in this is great. Like I said, queer, bisexual. There's also a different representation, but I can't tell you because I'm going to give something away. So anyway, so this is really, really good. I highly recommend this. This is like a 4.5-star thriller read for me as well. Then another one that I've read previously is this one is Resurrecting Amelia. So in this one, Amelia is reconstructing Amelia. Amelia is a teenager at sort of high school. She's like 17 I think. And her mom gets called because she is about to be suspended because she cheated on an exam. Her mother can't really understand, or cheated on a paper she was writing, and her mother can't really understand this and thinks it's strange. By the time she gets to the school, her daughter's committed suicide, or they think she's committed suicide. And this focuses on her mother kind of reconstructing Amelia's life and trying to figure out exactly what happened. Amelia is also queer, so that kind of, there's a narrative that runs alongside that in the book, which I really like, so that's a representation there. But this is a really good thriller as well. Again, 4 stars for this one. I really like this. And then I've got 2 by the same author. So we've got Jenny Roberts, so we've got Needlepoint, and we've got Dead Reckoning. So Needlepoint is the first book, so it's the Cameron McGill mystery series. So Cameron is the, I want to say private investigator, but the first one is, she's actually going to kind of almost avenge her sister's death, and this one is set in Amsterdam. Oh no, I'm lying. No, Needlepoint is not set in Amsterdam. Yes, it is. Oh no, I'm not lying. It is set in Amsterdam, and she's going to find out kind of what happened to her sister. And then this one, I'm just trying to remember where this one is set. That's really bad. Oh yeah, this is set back in the UK. So she is British, and she's there is a killing someone is killed near a gay bar in Manchester, and again she's kind of gone to investigate and see what happens. Again, she is queer. She's a gay lady. There's lots of fun times going on in these 2 books. Again, great mysteries. Gave them both 4 stars. Really like them. If there's any more, I will read another one in the series. So that's it. So that is your recommendation for queer, lesbian, mystery, thriller novels. If you like that, let me know. I'll do a few more recommendations. Let me know if you've read any, and if you have any recommendations and what you thought of them. And I will speak to you all again very soon. Bye-bye.